Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Leftovers, Season 1, Episode 6. It's called Guest. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. First thing I want to say about this is I usually have the IMDb up, just over there, just for character names should someone slip my mind, that kind of thing. And I want to just comment, looking over at it, how out of the, 20 that IMDb has up on its, before you click see full cast, only 3 names don't have credit only next to their name. None of the regulars are in this episode, other than the obvious 2.
Yeah, we gotta set up a Nora episode.
No, very much like we had a Matt episode. A few episodes later, we get a Nora episode. And you can tell right from the get-go, it opens on her, it starts with her, going through her daily routine, whatever. And we get this sense that it is just going to be her episode. Which I think was smart. I think it obviously made sense we were going to get one with her. Because kind of like Matt, we'd had glimpses of her here or there, small scenes, moments, maybe a little bit more than he got before his episode, but still, same kind of idea where it felt like we were going to build up to, okay, this is her blowout, this is her episode where we really get to know who she is and what she's going through. Because I think what works well with that is that up until now we've heard, oh, she lost her whole family, and like everyone else in the town, oh, we can't really imagine what that's like. So we feign sympathy. We assume what it is like, and we try and work around that, but we don't really know. So I think this kind of works well in that sense, where it felt like that up until now, and then it's like, no, here she is. This is what she's going through. This is how she's coping with it. All that stuff. So I thought that was a smart idea. So it's very well bookended, the episode, because there's a couple of things that it sets up at the start that by the end it comes around and kind of answers, fulfills, changes. That's kind of the arc of the episode. We see her early on going shopping, and she buys like all of the different things that she would have bought when her kids were still there. She buys like all the various cereals, Pop-Tarts, everything, giant cartons of milk, giant again, full
she's
family.
keeping it as if they just could come back at any moment.
Yeah, although I don't necessarily think it's because she believes they could come back at any moment. I don't think that's
No.
why. It's as the episode kind of like hints at later on. It's more about she doesn't want to grow comfortable that they're gone. She doesn't want to feel
she wants the reminder when she looks at it.
She never wants to stop feeling the pain. As to be quite accurate as to what's said later on. And I don't know if I necessarily got that from the opening scene necessarily, but obviously the episode, as it goes on, we get to the point where, okay, that's why she does these things. She doesn't want to let herself get used to the idea. She doesn't want to let herself get over it because she feels like she doesn't deserve to.
Yeah.
Obviously there's definitely some dark humour in here, but it's a very dark episode because it's coming from her perspective.
It's an interesting way of looking at survivor's guilt, basically, this episode.
Yeah, and like, at what point do you like? How extreme is that? How up the dial is that turned up to when you're the survivor, where your entire family, your husband and your children, both, they all died, like they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think any parent who loses a child has a kind of survivor's guilt.
Oh, of course.
That's very natural. When it's both kids.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have to cross in the fact that she never got to grieve. There was always the uncertainty of what had happened. It was just there wasn't a clean death, a closure.
No, there's an uncertainty. There's a shock. When are they coming back? Uncertainty, muddled, bit more muddled, and then it's just kind of like, oh, I guess they're not coming back. It feels like they're never coming back now. But there's never a clean break. It's a very gradual kind of process.
Even if, like you say, she is just trying to remember the pain, there will be a part of her somewhere in there that is going, but they could come back. Like, I think everyone in this world has that going, yeah, but they could come back at any moment. Like, they just don't know because they don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I can't say everyone. Obviously, there'll be some people who do believe that. I feel like most people though are at this point where they've kind of accepted. They're just gone.
I think they've accepted it, but I think there's still a part where, yeah, but what if? Just most people would have that inkling somewhere in them going, yeah, but they could.
But I think they've all kind of accepted and know that this was permanent. Whatever happened, they're gone. I was having some weird thoughts about this actually the other day as to where they went. I know they're never going to answer it, but I was like, I'm going to answer it myself. I'm going to.
Yeah, you're going full head cannon.
I was going full science fiction here, right? The characters all treat it like some sort of biblical event, or at least theorise that it's some sort of biblical event, and I was thinking, now what happened is there was a rupture in the space-time continuum, and the 2% that all left actually went to a parallel Earth. So for this Earth there was a great departure, for Earth 2 there was a great arrival, and they're all just trapped in Earth 2 now.
Oh, can we see a show where they're all refugees in Earth 2?
That's the sequel. The Arrivals? No.
No, it doesn't work, does it? They can come up with a better name.
Yeah, they can come up with something, but something that...
We've given them the idea,
Yeah.
they just need to run with it.
That's my stance. That's where they've all went. It doesn't mean anything. It's not biblical. It's nothing but a glitch. But they're all looking for meaning.
It's kind of like, that network show that's coming where all of the people come from the future.
Yeah, that new show, which I can't remember the name of.
Me either. But it's sort of like that, but it's just, it ties into this.
Yeah. I was kind of where I was thinking. I was just... I don't know why my head went there, but I was just thinking about it.
Why not?
Because I was thinking of insane things where someone from Earth 2 comes over to Leftovers Earth and like knows where they all went but doesn't tell anyone, and just kind of like... Because people on Earth 2 are like, where did the arrivals come from? They all just appeared. And is it like, old school duplicate Earth where there's copies of everyone?
That's what I was going to say.
So
Do they all have a second, or is it, no, they were all a different population?
Yeah, it's a different population. Like, how does that work? I'm going on a weird tangent here. It's not even about this episode. I apologise. So we learn that about her. We see some various other things. We learn that they set up this question early on, like that in her questionnaire when she's asking questions about people when they're trying to get their money. She always gets a yes answer to question 121. They don't tell us what 121 is. I actually tried to pause it because it got...
No, I know. You see the first half of
Yeah.
it, and you get to the bit where it's blank for their name
Yeah.
or whatever they're asking them to be referred as, and then it stops.
Yeah, you don't get to see it. But they set it up at the start so that she never gets a no answer for 121. It's always a yes. And our superior, who by the way was making me really hungry, he was munching on a sandwich this entire scene, and I was like, oh man, I'm hungry. I want some food.
It's really strange to be just eating a sandwich while you're talking to someone like that.
As obviously, I think it's shown that he's a really busy guy, so he has to kind of eat lunch as he's
Yeah.
getting stuff done. Which I kind of appreciate. I think anyone who's worked in the creative industries is sat and edited whilst eating their dinner. It's a thing that happens. But so that sets up that we see her do a couple more interviews. We also see her staking out the preschool teacher that her husband was having an affair with. And the preschool teacher knows who she is, like, because at first I didn't quite catch what was going on, because she looks over, and she looks over at her and I'm like, wait, do you just think she's some creepy woman staring at the kids? Like, oh no, I get it. It's the okay, right? Yeah. It's her. It's the one who's
It's added something new to her routine, hasn't it?
Yeah, and notice she's ginger. The home wrecker's a ginger, by the way. Just want to point that out there.
Aye, very good.
One of yours.
Aye, I'll take credit.
So we have that. We have all these things set up, and we have the idea that she goes and she gets a divorce, and like the judge is very much like, but just in the off chance that they do come back, this will still be legally standing. You'll still be divorced. And she's like, that's fine. That's fine. Do you think it's interesting she chooses to keep the married name though?
I don't. I think it's just that she's had that name for, however long she was married, presumably a while, because they had, 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just that's who she is now. It's not her husband's name anymore. It's her name.
But of course she runs into Kevin, and amusingly, he's also there for a divorce, which is actually pretty funny. It almost sounds like a pickup line. It's like, oh, small world. No, I'm actually here for a divorce. Yeah, I'm getting divorced too.
I think it is like interesting. Obviously, she's there because she's choosing the divorce, and he's there because he kind of has to be. He's accepted it, but it's certainly not his choice.
Yeah. Well, I think this goes back to them like finding each other again, like the idea that they've both ended up in the same place, even if it is through different means and different paths. Yeah. But they've ended up in the same location, both literally and figuratively. And the idea that, again, here they have this flirtation moment, they have a good chemistry, although it takes a bit of a twist here because she kind of puts her foot in it. because she just blurts out, "Do you want to go to Miami?" Which is a bit forward.
It is. It is.
And typically, I think of the man going too far first.
I think that's usually what you see. Yeah.
That's usually what you expect. I usually expect. I just expect us to be dumber and say the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's like I always think of How I Met Your Mother's first episode. You know, the "I love you" on the first date.
Sure, weak show to bring up, but aye, absolutely.
It's a great show.
Nah, it's a mediocre show. But no, so she brings that up, and he doesn't actually shoot it down. He's just like, oh well, I mean, short notice, and I do live with my daughter. I've got responsibilities, and that's when she drops the "F your daughter" line. But I think that's because I don't think it's so much that she is dismissive of his daughter, because it's not like she's dismissive of her kids. I feel like because she's now used to not having the responsibility of her kids, it's put her in this weird place where
she's kind of, as much as she tries to remember, a part of her has kind of forgotten what it's like.
Yeah, and I think that's why she gets so upset with herself here. It's not just that she's kind of put her foot, because it's a weird thing to say to someone when you at this point barely know them.
Yeah,
I mean, sure.
He's like, maybe we should go get some drinks first.
Yeah, like, because it's almost something that's like, oh, that's kind of like offensive almost to say someone, oh, screw your kids, come do something with me. I mean, don't get me wrong, my dark sense of humour thinks it's pretty funny. I would not be opposed to saying such a thing given the right circumstances, but not when I barely know the person. Absolutely, they'd have to know my sense of humour before I start hitting out with absurd lines like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's why she gets more upset in that scene. It's not just that she has made a fool of herself and she's a little bit embarrassed. It's that she has almost just noticed that she's kind of forgotten what it's like to be a parent and actually have that responsibility.
Yeah, that's it. Like, as much as she does the same routine, you know, like we see go shopping, she buys the same stuff. She doesn't actually have to do the caring and the responsibilities that come with being a parent. Just watching the kids, you know, being around them when they're in the house.
Yeah.
Like she's just by the nature of not having done it for 3 years has just forgotten.
Also worth mentioning, even though she's buying everything she needed, she kept forgetting the kitchen roll. Paper towels? Is that what it?
Yeah.
I don't
know either.
She keeps not buying the kitchen roll, even though she's out a kitchen roll, and so she keeps forgetting that, but she gets everything else, which is relevant because at the end she does buy the kitchen roll because she needs kitchen roll, but not everything else.
Well, is she forgetting, or is she choosing to leave it how they'd left it? Like, because everything is again, like I say, it's a reminder of, you know, these are the cereals. Everything, you know, she had the sweets in the car.
I mean,
everything is how it was at that moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not just so much that she's restocking everything they needed; it's that she's actually restocking everything that was there at the time. Again, it ties into her being super into making it authentic. But to me, I'm like, does it really matter if the cereal goes out of date? Like, if no one's eating it, like, you still got the imagery
I do think
of it.
That the reason it's fresh is just there's a small part of it that's like, if they come back, it's there.
Yeah.
Which I think that's it being fresh is the only thing that justifies that. Otherwise, like you say, the milk, obviously you replace that, but the cereal, it's just going to sit in a cupboard. You're not even going to notice for a long time.
And to be fair, the cereal keeps for a lot longer than milk. She could probably slow down how often she's buying the cereal just a little bit.
She does. I mean, I know she got some money for all this stuff, but, you know.
How much is she blowing it on cereal that no one's eating?
Far too much, frankly.
Oh dear. I think that's part of that. I think she knows they're not coming back, which is what makes it even sadder. That she's stalking it all, but she knows they aren't really coming back. It actually makes it more depressing. Now, before we run off with the main plot, which is her going to this convention for everyone who's involved in some capacity with the party industry. Obviously, her company deals with all that stuff, but the guy who makes the fake bodies goes, and probably other industries, other companies we couldn't even predict, given what we've learned so far. But we have glossed over a scene at the start with a prostitute. But that's not
this. You know, a few episodes ago, I said how I was quite hazy, but there's a few key moments that I remembered. This scene was one of the ones that I remembered vividly.
It's one that I'd forgotten. There's been a few scenes so far on the show This might have been the last episode I saw, actually, thinking about it. I don't remember anything past this. But there's been a few scenes up until now where, as the scene's been starting, I'm like, oh, I remember what this was.
Yeah.
I couldn't have remembered it beforehand, but now that I've seen the start of it, I'm like piecing together where it's going. Like, at the end of the episode, I knew who she was about to see before she went in the room. Like, I remembered that. So the prostitute comes in, and she's got an inflatable bed out, and she's like, do you want me to watch you? Do you want, she's like, what kinky shit are you into? She's like, no, I want you to shoot me. She pulls out her big giant revolver. She's like, I want you to shoot me. And she puts on a Kevlar vest. Obviously, the prostitute does protest a little bit. She doesn't understand exactly, because she thinks she wants to kill her at first.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite lines. If I wanted to kill myself, I wouldn't need you.
That's very true. Yeah, and she can't. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like point blank range with a gun on a Kevlar vest would still probably kill her.
Don't know. It would leave a hell of a bruise.
It would. I feel like a gun that big. I feel that's a pretty big caliber. I think like that close range.
Maybe.
If she was the one holding it, I mean maybe it wouldn't. But
I don't know enough.
yeah, but like she wants her to shoot her from a distance, and obviously when she does, she puts on some metal music and it all drowns it out to an extent, and the prostitute gets scared and runs off. And we wake up before it goes to the titles. Which, by the way, if I have one complaint, I really don't like the opening titles on this show.
Do you not?
No, I think they're too over the top, and I don't know. I just
The visuals or the music or both?
both. I actually think it's the worst part of music in the show.
Really? I like it.
I like all the music is actually in the score, all that, love it. Music in the opening titles, yeah.
See, I love the contrast. Just, I mean, I know this is nothing to do with this episode in general, but I love the idea that, like you said, that the music itself is this big, massive operatic piece. It's got all the drums, it's the full orchestra in there, and it's like that's the event. Like that, there is the event, and then the actual score itself is very minimalist, and it's like this is the fallout. And I think that contrasts really nicely for me.
I think that's my problem, though, is that it just sounds so different from the rest of the score. I think that's actually what I like about it. Combined with the visuals, which I think, again, are just super on the nose.
I will not argue with that, but that has been a running problem in the show in general.
But it's like, it's like actual, like, biblical paintings kind of style, and it's just like, whatever. Anyway, the point I was making about the scene being shot, obviously this brings up some ideas here, like, why is she doing this? What is she going through that's making her feel this way? Is this... It was making me think of... There's just when characters like want to like feel alive, so they get as close to death as they possibly can. Does she want to feel like does she not feel alive? So she wants to feel this impact and sort of have her own life, like feel like it's almost coming to an end. But then obviously she's safe because she's put on the vest.
Yeah,
she's so. It's this idea that she wants to feel pain because this will still hurt. Like,
definitely.
Bulletproof vest or not, the gunshot's still going to have a punch. It's still going to hurt, and I think it's a step in the mind of her psyche. And like a lot of this show, I feel like it's hard to get a gauge exactly on what is going through her head for a lot of the episode, and it sort of comes a bit more clear. It's kind of like with Matt. We got a better sense of his character as the episode went on, and to the point where we kind of feel like we understand him a little bit better. In fact, speaking of Matt, we don't see him in this episode. He does phone our answering machine though, and we get to hear him trying to apologise for tell her about her husband and so on. But she saves that message, which maybe shows she is ready to forgive, or maybe she just really likes the sound of her brother apologising and thought, I'm going to save that.
Maybe.
Make that my ringtone.
I think it was the moment she saves it was when he says, I love you. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like, no, she wants to remember that. Like, their family, because he says, we're family, I love you. And that's when she clicks save. So I get it.
Yeah, she has at least one family member left, even if she's mad at him right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she goes to this convention in New York, and we get a sense of the crazy. There's a guy dressed as the Pope saying it's all a hoax, and the Pope's still out there somewhere like he's Bigfoot, which I thought would really crack me up. That's pretty funny.
The one that got me was it was saying a World Health Organization is to blame. Like, it was their fault. It's like, yeah. Really brings out the conspiracy nuts, don't you? They got the cultists on one side and the conspiracy nuts on the other.
Well, I think what I liked the most about this episode, it was the fascinating viewpoints we hadn't quite seen from a lot of other people. Because obviously we've been very much in this town and we've had the consolidated efforts. But hearing the different people in these companies talk about them, because obviously part of the plot here is that Nora's badge gets taken by someone else, so she gets handed a guest badge. And because that, she doesn't have the what's called the legacy sticker, which basically means for every legacy sticker you've got, you lost someone. So she'd have 3 because she lost her husband and both her kids. But she gets this thing where she gets to hear people talk about legacy people because they don't know she's one of them, and she hears their opinions on it and how they're kind of sick of having to be apologetic and like, oh, what we're supposed to say, like it's been 3 years, like am I supposed to still be walking around like on my tiptoes trying not to hurt their feelings, like. And I thought it was just interesting to see all these different viewpoints and seeing the nut jobs out in the street. And even when she goes into the hotel and the guy at the desk is like, oh yeah, it's anything to do with the party brings out the crazies, or some people just don't want to forget kind of thing. And all of it, like her reaction to all of it was very, very fascinating to watch, because there was a mix of, yeah, I kind of agree, but also I was deeply affected by it. But also, like, there's a real mix of emotions on her face.
Because we know she doesn't want to forget. That's kind of what a lot of this episode was about. She doesn't want to forget what it was, but she's not doing what they're doing in the street still. She's still doing something constructive.
Yeah, well, I think with her, I don't, not to diminish the people dressed as the Pope outside, but she's not a nut job. She's maybe tackling it in more of a... I mean, she's definitely not completely right either. She's paying hookers to shoot her in the chest. So she's definitely over a line.
But she's keeping the crazy in her own home.
Yeah, she's handling it to an extent on her own. Although that said, another thing I think this episode is really effective at is that we've heard people talk about all season how she might be a little bit unhinged because of what happened. Everyone is tiptoeing around her. We've seen everyone around her kind of like, when Jill and Amy were talking about her and various things, when she was, in the first episode on the stage talking about everything. And then this episode, we actually finally got to see her have an outburst or two. We finally got to see her have a moment where she did let loose. It was kind of like the reason why everyone was scared to talk to her. We finally got to see it in this episode, what they were scared of. We see it a couple of times. We even hear mention of it happening last year with the woman in the bathroom, and she's like, yeah, you said my kids disappeared because I bought them Frosted Flakes.
Yeah, but it is interesting because, like you said, this episode, it has people not tiptoe around her because they don't know. I think it's interesting to see that she kind of reacts much more like a normal person. When she's just in a situation and treated like everyone else, she just seems much more normal for the most part, other than the key moments.
I think that obviously the title's guest because she gets a guest badge, but obviously the greater meaning here is that she gets to kind of be a guest in someone else's shoes for that night when she's around these other people, and she gets to see how they talk. Because it's not like they're disrespectful of the legacy people.
No, they just think that they need to... that they don't want to have the burden of being very careful around what they say about every single person.
Yeah. Because that's kind of what happened with the Frosted Flakes lady, as I'm going to call her. Is because as she says, all she brought up is there's like, if you look at the statistics, there's a higher correlation of kids who eated sugared cereals to the ones who disappeared. Like there's a higher. That's all she said.
She even says the word correlation, not causation, just that there was a correlation, which is kind of the entire point of her whole job. This survey is to see, is there any correlation amongst anything? And this one person says, hey, I've got one. I'm not saying it's the cause, but there is a correlation there.
Yeah.
And she flipped.
And that's what people are scared of. And it's, I think she has this chance to see how she's coping by seeing how everyone else is around, not her, even if they don't know it's not her. And we see her get drunk, and we see her kind of hang out with creepy smile dude, which is what I'm referring to him as, because he had a very creepy smile.
He did. Joe, he reminds me of oh god, I forget the name. Mr. Robot.
Elliot? You mean Rami
No.
Malek?
No, not him. The other guy.
Oh, you mean Tyrell?
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of him. Just
a little bit. Yeah, no, I can see it. See it. I think he could play the Joker. Actually, I was getting like some Joker vibes from him.
Do you know what? I could see it.
Yeah, I was getting some of those vibes. But he's kind of hitting on her, even though he's married, and she points that out, and to be fair, he's honest about it. He's like, yeah, I'm married, but cards are on the table, I still want to do something. Yeah. And she, obviously we know she's just found out her husband cheated on her, so she's not really wanting to do that, but she kind of mocks him by kissing his copy, his doppelganger, lying on the table, which is fine.
He's so proud of that thing.
Yeah. Well, he charges 40 grand for it. He better be proud of it.
That is true. I think he should be proud of his workmanship at that cost.
He should be. because he mentions it right down to a scar. Like it's all accurate to the person.
Yeah.
What I was thinking of, he has to charge a lot, because think about it, this is kind of a finite business, because, yeah, sure, for a couple of decades there'll be people still sort of dealing with it, but eventually, the people who can afford to do this are going to run out.
Oh, absolutely. It's not like more people are disappearing.
Exactly. I mean, you might get the odd new case of just, like, someone who went missing and they have to do it, but that's few and far between.
Yeah, you could expand to that at some point, but, yeah.
Yeah, right now, this is obviously you're booming right now, but a few years down the line, this is
that bubble's going to burst.
Yeah, it's going to go. You've got a finite amount of customers that are dwindling as you go, especially when you're charging that much. I mean,
that's it. You got to make every dollar while you can.
So all this is good stuff, and then the next day she gets thrown out of the hotel because whoever's got her badge caused some trouble, smashed the mirror in the bar, and the hotel security throws her out. She goes in and makes a fake badge so she can get back in, but the security catch her immediately. It's not even. There's not even like a bit of a heist where she's almost getting in. It's no. As soon as she walks in the door, the security guy who tossed her out is like,
it's like you again.
Yeah, you. And she goes and tries to convince she gets taken to the head of security and she tries to convince him. But they go down to the conference hall. Because the funny thing is I didn't even think when she was like, oh, someone's got my badge, they're pretending to be, they could be at this panel that she's supposed to be at. And I was like, I fully buy that someone stole your badge to like cause a riot, but I don't necessarily think that means they're going to be an imposter at.
Well, that's it, isn't it? She immediately jumps to the worst. Now, obviously, she was right to, but I think it was interesting. Even when she was going to get the badge, and the woman was like, "Someone could have just picked up by mistake." There's a lot of badges here. Things happen.
I was actually thinking even worse than her. I was thinking terrorist attack.
Oh, okay. You're thinking one of the nut jobs got in.
Well, yeah, because some people are obviously very against the departed industries, and I was thinking maybe that someone's trying to get in and do something bad, and like that's why you shouldn't just be like, oh, someone just picked it up by accident. Here's a guest badge.
Do you know what? Do they not need to see ID before they give these badges out? You're going, oh, my name is Nordus. You go, right, can I just see some ID? Oh, yeah, you are her. Here you go, badge.
You would think it's pretty shoddily run, if you ask me.
It is
pretty shoddily run. But she goes in, and there is this woman sitting there with her badge, her nameplate out on the table. And I love how the head of security is like, well, bugger, you were right.
Better get some guys down here, deal with this.
So Nora just goes up to the mic, because there's a Q&A mic set up for the crowd, and she just walks up and starts asking, fake Nora, doppel Nora, about who she is or whatever, just to sort of point out the lie. And to be fair, this nut job just immediately says, I'm not Nora, I'm against all this bollocks, you people are all just covering up the truth and blah 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 blah. And that's basically it. It basically amounts to nothing, essentially. She gets some free drinks at the bar afterwards. That's kind of where it goes in that sense.
The whole thing was just about someone coming in. It was really just showing us how much people are against this and how horrified everyone in this industry was that someone would be that against it and have the balls to come in and say it to their faces.
Yeah. I think it does two things. It builds the world a bit more. We understand how these things work a little bit better. But for Nora, it's more this character discovery. We learn where she is right now, and she does have an arc in this episode, obviously, because after this, she's at the bar, she's having her free drinks, and she runs into this guy who, and we've been seeing this book pop up throughout the episode. There's someone's there who's written a book called What's Next, or What Happens Next.
I think it was just called What's Next.
What's Next, yeah, but no question mark, as she points out. It was period. Just no. What's happening next?
Yeah, it was a statement, not a question.
But she starts talking to this guy, and they mentioned in an earlier scene that he lost 4 people, and I thought, well, that beats her by 1. He's got 1 up. But although I never actually considered what she brings up in the scene when she gets mad at him is that, well, who are you counting? Were you counting your grandparents who were like 78?
Yeah. I think she says it was your parents who were in the 70s, so it's not the same. Yeah,
you lost two parents, and then maybe you lost.
And also, he didn't lose everyone because he tells us he still has a daughter, an 8-year-old daughter who's still there. Who was, because he tells that story about her playing last year.
What was that last year? I didn't actually catch that.
Yeah, no, he said last year because that was the whole thing. And then he said his daughter, she looked happy and then was guilty that she was happy. And because obviously she feels like she shouldn't be, because she should be remembering all the people that she lost.
So it's basically Nora. It's
It
little,
is, yeah.
little Nora. Yeah.
It is. It's yeah.
But yeah, so and she gets pissed at him. She starts. This is the outburst that we're really talking about. We got teased with the Frosted Flakes lady, because it hinted at something that happened last year when she threw off the handle. Whereas this, as we actually get to see it, we get to see her like flip out and get angry, and like, you know, this is bullshit. You're just a phony. You're not. And it turns out there's this creepy guy going about making a sales pitch about, oh, do you actually want to feel this way? And it turns out this guy, this writer, had been involved with whatever he's selling, whatever this creepy guy is doing. I was wondering what this guy was from, this tall bald guy. He was in The House of the Devil, which is a good horror movie.
All right.
Have you seen it?
I don't think so.
It's really good, but I recognised him from that, and right away I went, he's a horror movie guy, because he has that creepy look to him that he should be in horror movies.
I know what you mean.
And I mean that with the utmost sincerity and respect. I'm not bashing the guy's look. I just think he has a really good, cool, creepy sort of tall guy horror look to him.
It's the way he holds himself as well, isn't it?
But yeah, so he makes his sale pitch to Nora. He's like, oh, I can prove that he's full of shit. He didn't just get better. He didn't just do this. Like, there was more to it than that.
Yeah. It was when she says, but you don't actually feel anything. You're not upset, because if you were upset, you wouldn't be writing this. And the guy's kind of like, yeah, you're right. I can show you why you're right.
Yeah. He doesn't feel the pain anymore. That the pain's gone. Yeah. And he leaves her up somewhere and makes her pay $1,000 to PayPal, which again, we know she can afford it because she got all that payout. But which actually, that was one of my interesting things, is that she had to do the questions 3 times. That was
she had to do one for each.
Yeah, that was a little interesting tidbit, I thought, from that conversation earlier about the 121. Like, what did you answer? And she said yes 3 times to the question. We're getting to the question. We'll get to it when we get to it. But she goes in, and lo and behold, it's Wayne.
Do you know what? I think it's really interesting, because immediately, we'll learn here how he's charged, $1,000. Never really got the sense of that, he was running that much of a racket before.
I wouldn't say there was anything that suggested otherwise, but
there wasn't. But we never saw any money handed over before.
No, we never saw the money handed over. It was just the way they took the guy to him. It felt like he was probably paying to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so she comes in and she's just confused. Like, what is this? Who's this guy? What's going on? And he's like, oh, that guy, yeah, well, he wrote a book, never read it. Like, he's very dismissive. Like, Wayne doesn't care.
Yeah, he barely remembers him.
And when he goes up and he tries to make his move for the hug, he's like, look, I've already got your money, love. I don't care. Like, if you want to just go, it's fine. But if you wanted me to take the pain away, like I did for him, I can. And she buys into it. Because she has that really great little emotional moment where she says, will I forget them?
Yeah.
And he assures her, no, you will never forget them. That's not...
It's the first moment we've really seen her get emotional. Obviously, we saw her get angry.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've seen her upset over what's happened.
Yeah, in the sense that she's just pure emotion and teary-eyed and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... And sure enough, they hug, and we don't really... Like, we go from the hug, we cut straight back, I think, to, back to the town. We cut back to... It's the preschool teacher with the kids, and she's looking around to see if Nora's like watching her today, and she's not there. And then we see Nora at the supermarket, and she's just buying normal things that she needs.
Yeah, a normal amount of stuff.
A normal amount of things, and she buys kitchen roll.
And I think the moment that really sells it is when she goes to pay, and she smiles.
She does smile.
She seems genuine, where before she was just going through the motions.
Yeah. And Kevin comes over, which is kind of weird because it's like she should be apologising to him, but he comes over to her because he wants to let her know that he's not that upset about it. It's fine, and they actually do make a date. Like, he's like, "Oh, would you want to get some dinner sometime?" Blah 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 blah. I'd like that. And there's a genuine sort of happiness between them and smiling, and even a little funny moment where Kevin says, "Oh, just by the way, I'm a mess, just so you know." Yeah. But the idea that, like, before the start of this episode, she wasn't ready to move on with her life, but now she kind of is. And And the timeline's kind of right as well. I mean, obviously we can talk about, like, is Wayne actually taking pain from people? Is there something actually happening there? I mean, I don't know if we ever had that conversation back in episode 1 or 2 when we discovered what was happening with him.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
Because it's a weird idea, obviously. That
Let's say, is it that he's taking, like, physically doing something, or is it just the idea that he's, almost mentally tricking them into accepting it?
It's a placebo effect, almost.
Yeah, where they think it's gone, so they feel better, and they're not concerned about it because they believe it.
Interesting, actually, Wayne did mention that his death was coming soon. He said he's seen his demise, and it's not that long from now.
Yeah, so he's prophetic as well as healer.
Well, we'll see if it actually pans out, but yeah.
Or he believes he is, at least.
Yeah.
Because he has no reason to say that to her otherwise.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless he genuinely believes it. Like, as much as maybe we're suggesting maybe he's just running a con and it's, a placebo effect, I think on some level he must believe in what he's doing, otherwise he wouldn't bother saying something like that.
It's very interesting how dismissive he is, though. Where it's not like he's trying to convince them the entire time. He's like, I don't really care.
It's like I can do this. It's no difference to me whether I do or not. It's almost like he's put almost no effort into it. It just happens.
That said, that moment when they're hugging, there is like a sort of look in his face, like he is accepting something. Like there's like he's actually in kind of like some amount of pain. Not in a physical sense, just like he is feeling it.
Like I say, I don't know if it's real or not, but I certainly think he believes it's real. Which I think is all that matters at the moment.
Yeah, but she is ready to move on and do other things with her life, and that's kind of the journey of the episode. She's accepted that she can move on and not feel guilty that she is moving on, and for not forgetting them. Obviously, like it's not getting over someone's death. To put it in sort of regular world terms, isn't wrong. It's not forgetting them. It's just It's different, obviously. With death, it's a natural part of life, something that everyone experiences. Someone, at some point, they will die, and you have to learn to move on because the world would collapse if people didn't, at some point, find a way to move on and just function. Yeah, no one would be able to function because eventually everyone has to go through someone close to them dying.
Exactly. But again, you don't forget them. It's just you're not worrying about it every moment. It's not constantly on your mind as, what if?
Well, that was the whole point that Wayne brings up, is that anytime she starts to feel like she is starting to get to that acceptance level, she does something to make it hurt again. She intentionally, will watch a whole movie, or she'll intentionally, whatever.
I think that's an extension of what the shooting is. It's like there's a physical pain to back it up.
Yeah.
There's an impact, there's a shock going, no, you need to feel this.
So before we go, we do have one final thing we almost forgot to talk about, and that is the question number 121 that was alluded to earlier on. And there's a scene towards the end of the episode where Nora, I almost said Gloria. This is a problem with the same actress being on two shows at the same time. Well, she wasn't. I mean, technically this was finished, but as far as we were watching it,
as far as we're concerned, it's all now.
But she's asking this question here. She's with this new person. Answering the questions, and it's funny because you see it, it's like 118, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna get to it. We're gonna hear it. We're gonna hear what it is.
We're gonna finally see what it is.
Yeah, it goes through a few, and then it gets to 121, and she says, "In your opinion, is the departed in a better place?" It's like, oh dear, and then the woman starts crying and says no, and it's this, and it kind of like, oh right, so. When her superior asked her, like, were you kind of letting in on what your situation was and what happened to you? Because you almost think, okay, they might be considering her feelings when they're answering that. Like, I don't want to just say no, they're not in a better place, they're just dead and gone, and because it might upset her. And she assures them that she never did that before. She's never opened up about herself in that way. But it makes you wonder, like, well, but she was so clearly sad. Like, they could just tell. Like,
That's
even
it's
not consciously, even but they could just tell.
Yeah, you believe her that she never actively did anything.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's just the way she was. I mean, the whole time we've seen her in the show, up till this point where she's changed, she has been very dour and, grim.
Yeah, she has this air about her, and it's almost like subconsciously the people across from her don't want to give a no to that because they don't want to.
And I have to wonder, how far out of town was she going to do these? Like, was she still other ones that she was? Because we saw her do it in town, and she's kind of a local legend.
That's
you have
true.
to imagine
Yeah.
some of these people would know her story anyway, like without her having to say anything.
That is possibly true. I mean, unless she's driving to like the next town over.
Well, that's what I thought, but we did see, Jill follow her. It seemed to be that it was still
It
pretty
seemed to be, but
close.
if you told me she'd actually went to another town there, I wouldn't
Yeah, that's true.
fight
We
with
didn't
you that
see how
much.
long they were driving for.
So that was a very strong character study episode, and it puts her in a place where, okay, so now moving forward, when we see her interacting with Kevin, it's like, all right, so there's some hope for both of them, which is nice because they've both found someone, they both have some kind of hope there, but like we're ready to move beyond where they were, her specifically,
Yeah.
and I think in that sense this was a very successful episode. Uh, if I have any complaints, and I don't know if I do per se. Maybe, yeah, maybe some of the convention stuff goes on a little bit long, perhaps.
Yeah, it's like they knew they needed a full episode with Nora, and they were like, "This is the Nora episode," but they had maybe like 42 minutes worth instead of 50,
Because
and they just pad it out a little bit.
I did think her being drunk and like dancing on the couch and stuff. Like I don't know if we necessarily needed all of that.
Yeah, that sequence went on a bit long, didn't it?
Yeah. As soon as she stepped in that elevator, and some of it was fascinating because when they start talking about the legacy people, like that was what was relevant, I think, to what was happening. But it went on just a little bit long in terms of she's having her one wild night in the city,
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
thing. But hey, it's not a big complaint. It's mild. So, but that is Leftovers episode 6, the Noah episode. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter, mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Get us on patreon.com/mailfuzztv if you want to support the channel. You get these Leftovers reviews a week early, so that's a thing to do. So thank you very much, guys. Keep watching TV. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.